just trying to think what to add to that, Nelly, because I think.
Welcome to the Destination Workplace Show, a podcast that inspires CEOs, real estate, workplace, and HR leaders to create meaningful and purposeful employee experiences inside and outside of the office. My name is Nelly Hyatt, and I'm a work futurist. And I'm sitting down with leaders to talk about the future of the workplace, their vision and ambition for the next generation of employees, and how to have an impact.
When our founder asked me to lead our transition to remote work, I thought the brief was going to be to go fix the problems and to try and make life a little bit better for people as we're in remote. And Robert said, I want remote to be a towering strength of our culture and a competitive advantage. And that just fired the whole team up who were responsible for creating remote work environment at our company to just raise the bar and to try to take this to a different place. There are only a few positions we've created as a result of moving to remote. So one was remote onboarding of new team. We're hiring like crazy, and we have to have people really fantastically onboarded. And there's a person who wakes up in the morning and is just completely thinking about that. The second is learning and development for remote skills and remote team members, which felt like an absolute priority and really, really important for us. And the third area, and so this adds up to maybe 7 or 8 people in total. It's really not a big team, but the third area is events and in-person collaboration. And so there's a fourth area, which is remote collaboration. So driving a culture of async and nonlinear and all of those buzzwords, but really helping people get to grips with some of those superpowers of remote working.
And it's beautiful because, again, that's the framework that people need to feel safe. Like, the framework is here to support people. So we're going to do everything for you to feel supported. Then it's on you individually to build this relationship, to grow, to decide to continue your own ongoing learning, to travel, etc. Like, all those is the framework that would give you the keys to what you need to do. But then we want to foster a culture where individuals are responsible and mature to then use all of these keys. And I think this is why we see Darren Murphy in a lot of the trainings focusing on self-awareness, self-resilience, self-discipline. Like, somehow there's so much about the individuals owning his work and owning his life. And it's funny that we are there because we feel, they are adults, they all know. And somehow I think we lost it a little bit. We grew to become independent, and then at work we start going back into a hierarchical mode where we are waiting for someone to tell us how to do. It's interesting to see how we're changing the narrative a little bit.
Totally. And the whole self thing is so important because you also need to understand that you own your calendar.
Yeah.
You don't have to turn up at that meeting just because you were invited to the meeting. And especially when you're invited to the meeting at 6 a.m. or at 9 p.m. at night, and that doesn't suit your working schedule, you have the power to change that, to ask for the document, to contribute asynchronously, and trying to help people feel empowered.
I think we should remove meeting rooms in offices. They were
cool.
In offices where I used to go. I remember that you have these blinders. Somehow some people can be in a room, they put blinders. Today anyone would look at it and be like, guys, take your meeting on Zoom. If you don't want us to know you're in a room, just take your meeting on the Zoom. Why would you be in a room, close the blinders so we see who's coming in, and we feel there's some super important discuss that we shouldn't know about, and yet visually you're showing us that it's happening. Either be transparent or don't. But
I totally agree. I mean, being the communications person, that people watch what meetings you're going into because they're like, oh, it's finance, it's HR, it's communications, must be a reorganization. And you have to dance around that. And people, you can't treat people like they're stupid and they don't know what's happening because you draw the blinds. I love that. That's a really funny way of describing it.
Yeah. Also, you don't prompt a culture of transparency and have blinders or doors. Like, why do you close the door? A closed door is not a nourishing soul for creativity, brainstorming, innovating, building relationships. It doesn't really happen when you're sitting around a table. Like, it doesn't feel very welcoming or inviting. I envision no more meeting rooms, but a lot more playful rooms, like rooms dedicated to inspiration, rooms dedicated to creativity and brainstorming, rooms dedicated to building relationships.
I love your vision, not least of all because it's aligned with what we're trying to create right now. We're opening collaboration centers in the coming months, and we're redesigning them, but we have 3 uses for these spaces, and one is for deep focused work when people either don't have a home environment that they can use, or when they just want a change of scenery. The second is for in-person collaboration, those, if you like, grand water cooler moments with groups of people who want to come together and work on something together. But the third and really very important space, and we're going to give over at least 25% of the space in the collaboration center to this, is social time, is eat together, drink together, play board game. People used to play board games in our offices, and they can't do that anymore. And there was a book club, and there are special interest groups, and there are all sorts of other things. The real challenge for us as we open these places is not to make them an advantage to those team members who can access them, and to really think about all of these people that we're hiring, in some cases 1,000 miles away from any bricks and mortar space that we have. And so we want to create an amazing collaboration center, but we also want those team members not to be disenfranchised because they're not going to be able to drop in on a infrequent basis. The idea that it's binary, that an in-person team can be better than a remote team, or vice versa, just makes no sense. A great team to me could be remote or in person, and it depends on having great leadership and great team members and a great plan, and the team feeling a place in the organization and being on a mission to deliver great things. And if any of that goes wrong, then the team is not a great team anymore. And that's got nothing to do with whether they're working remotely or whether they're working in an office. I find it fascinating that the debate is so polarized when a team can be successful in any work mode if it's set up to be successful.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're definitely pushing the needle towards like more intention, more meaning, and more purpose in how we do things. And somehow it will come in alignment with the collaboration spaces. Like Google 20 years ago, they pushed the needle in offering free lunches and exercising. Yeah. But somehow we get stuck at some point. Like we reach whatever we could ever do with offices. Like then for the last 10 years, we're just replicating on Google. We didn't know where to go. It seemed like a dead end, because actually there was a lot of changes happening in the remote world, and we didn't know how to adapt to it. I think now we're going to see a greater alignment. And this is why, going back to what you were saying about collaboration spaces, this idea of allowing it to evolve. So investing as we go is going to make it this perfect alignment between what is changing in the digital workplace, how it impacts the physical workplace, and how do we meet in the digital? How do we meet in the physical? Where, when do we decide to meet on Zoom? When do we decide to meet in person? That's really the third way we're talking about at the beginning. And I hope that, more and more headlines are going to show what Vistaprint is doing and how they're doing, so other people can just take it as an example.
I hope so too. I think our team members deserve that. They've been so patient. They've been so accommodating while we've worked this out. They have taken self-responsibility for this, and it's part of the motivation to do what we do, is that they've just been so good while doing their job and waiting for us to try and get this better, and then hopefully ultimately right for them.
Yeah, exactly. I know we had time, so I want to say thank you so much. It was beautiful to have this conversation.
Oh, thank you so much. You honestly, I throw out these things that we're doing, and then you talk about the theory and make it sound amazing. It's inspiring to me to hear you and how you talk about this.
I think it's inspiring what you're doing.